Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be demystifying what causes poverty, and I'm also going to be shedding light on how to prevent chronic poverty from transpiring. So, what are the ample causes behind poverty, you may ask? Well, let me just address an answer to that inquiry right here, right now. First and foremost, attending the 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory indoctrination camp unequivocally causes poverty. How so, you may ask? Well, not only does it stunt your growth physically, mentally, and spiritually, and shorten your telomeres, and reduce your intelligence, and induce agony, distress, and consternation and depression, and interfere with your ability to eat nutrient-dense foods when you're hungry, and sleep when you're fatigued, but it also drains you of 32,760 hours minimum of your sacrosanct, precious, indispensable, non-replenishable time. So you wind up losing 2,340 days that you could otherwise have allocated towards creating income-generating assets or working in some capacity if we lived in a free market economy against their own volition, under duress. Children wind up attending the 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory indoctrination camps. Everything should be voluntary, nothing should be compulsory, but that's another topic for another video. The crux of the issue here is that you forgo creating income generating assets, and once you graduate from this 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory indoctrination camp, you don't receive any remuneration, you don't receive any benefits, you don't receive a pension, you don't receive any semblance of compensation, you receive absolutely nothing except destitution, poverty, and dismay. Now, if we lived in a free market economy in which the individual had purview over how their time was allocated, then they'd be able to create income generating assets amid their childhood years, such as videos, podcasts, blogs, online courses, ebooks, articles, and audiobooks. But even if they decided to work a minimum wage job during this 32,760 hour period, by the time they reached adulthood, if they invested the money into annuities, index funds, stocks that bear high dividend yields, rental properties, they could easily be a multi-millionaire in their 30s or 40s. So these are the ramifications and repercussions appertaining to attending the 13-year insalubrious K-12 compulsory indoctrination camp. It causes you to be slated for a life fraught with chronic poverty and indigence and destitution, because you don't have any income generating assets to show for squandering these 32,760 hours. You don't have a brand to show for it. You don't receive a pension, nor remuneration, nor any form of compensation, nor benefits, nor a guaranteed job offer. So the whole thing is just a squanderance of time, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, we live in a controlled market economy, and people have been bereft of their liberties since the day they were born, unfortunately. But it is what it is, I suppose. You can't control how your time is allocated. Bureaucratic apparatuses control how your own time is allocated against your own volition, which is inhumane, because everyone should be able to be a pioneer of their own destiny and forge their own Moira and be able to control how they allocate their time in the simulated reality. But we'll move on to another cause of poverty. Of course, another cause is regulations. When companies have to pay compliance costs, evisceration fees, they pass these compliance costs and regulatory costs onto their customers in the form of higher product prices. And of course, this culminates in decreasing the standard of living, because products become a little more cost prohibitive. Moreover, if you want to be an entrepreneur and if you want to dabble into certain industries, you often need permits, licenses. This is expensive. This creates barriers to entry, and this is another cause of poverty. How so, you may ask? Well, it prohibits you from being able to pursue any opportunity you see fit, because you do not have the means to obtain the license or permit that they arbitrarily require. But if we lived in a free market economy, anyone would be able to compete in any industry, and you wouldn't need a license nor permit to do so. There wouldn't be an artificial barrier to entry, and these requirements for licenses and permits create artificial barriers to entry. Moreover, they cause companies to pass costs on to customers in the form of higher product prices and higher service prices, because if customers have higher overhead costs, higher operating costs, they need to be able to reap a positive return on investment, and they cannot do so if they're charging their customers low prices, if their expenses are exorbitant. So it is what it is. Evisceration fees that transfer wealth from someone who works a real private sector job to someone who works a boondoggle job as a public glorified welfare aristocrat also decreases the standard of living. When you can't retain your wealth, when your wealth is earmarked into the bank accounts of people who do not produce anything, it leads to poverty, unfortunately, for the people who are being siphoned and eviscerated out of their hard-earned income to finance pensions, trust funds, amenities, and accoutrements of the higher life and high salaries of public glorified welfare aristocrats who have the utmost highest standard of living at the expense of the individual's standard of living being plunged into the abyss. Who has a real private sector job that would exist in a free market economy. What else causes poverty? Jobs that pay a livable wage. They view their employees as expendable, exploitable capital livestock and as labor cost liabilities. So, if you work a job, you're essentially going to be entrapped in chronic poverty because your employer will never pay you a modicum of what you're worth. They'll only pay you the bare minimum because they view you as a labor cost liability to be minimized. They need to maximize the wealth of their shareholders, and it takes precedence over your needs 100% of the time, unfortunately. So it is what it is. So let's discuss how to prevent chronic poverty. From a young age, you need to start creating income-generating assets such as videos, books, courses, articles, blogs, podcasts. You can start earning subscription revenue. You could sell product placements. You could earn affiliate marketing revenue. You could build a robust behemoth of a brand in a niche market, and then you could parlay your wealth into buying income-generating assets such as rental property, stocks that bear high dividend yields, index funds, mutual funds, annuities. There are ample options, bonds, and this is how you can prevent chronic poverty. It can take you tens of thousands of hours, but you don't want to relinquish your time for money ever. If you need short-term relief, if you need more fiat currency in the short haul, you can work a dead-end, harrowing, dispiriting job, and then you could wean yourself off that job over time by being an entrepreneur and by creating more and more income-generating assets by having sizable catalog of income generating assets, you could hopefully pull yourself out of the muck and mire and stave off succumbing to chronic poverty. I hope that you found this video to be insightful and intriguing. Have a blissful day. Goodbye.